Does anyone have a question that they would like to start off with? Yes.
So I have a question to Mr. Keshish. It's a little bit strange question. So now, when the movie finally shot, edited, and shown on screen, what do you think? What all this story? What is about? What is about all the story, on your opinion, now, when it finished?
The question is, what, in your opinion, now that the film is finished, is the film all about?
Yes. Excuse me.
Je crois que j'ai compris. J'espère que vous avez des réponses.
I hope you have the answer.
Mais quand je fais un film, j'essaye d'aborder d'abord une histoire avec quelques thématiques ou un grand nombre de thématiques. Mais souvent, il en ressort une plus que l'autre, ou quelques-unes plus que d'autres. Mais je crois que j'ai très envie aussi que les autres, le spectateur ou l'autre, enfin celui à qui on s'adresse, ressente le film et qui lui parle et que ce soit un véritable échange. Je crois qu'il y avait une volonté d'échanger et que le spectateur soit actif dans le film, qu'il vive avec le film. Donc je comprends votre question et en même temps, c'est peut-être même pour vous, c'est celle que vous vous posez et c'est bien que vous la posez. Je ne sais pas si j'ai répondu quelque chose.
Okay, when I broach a film, I usually have a theme or several themes, and then one of the themes may emerge more strongly than the others. And I want it to be an exchange with the audience where they perceive the themes that I'm trying to communicate so that we have a similar experience. I don't know if I've answered your question, but it's a question that I ask myself as well.
Mais pardon, c'est un public de presse?
Yes. Oui.
D'accord. Non, je viens juste de le comprendre.
Yeah. I'm curious if this is going to be I guess, the director's cut, and if this is going to be the release version. Because in America, unless it's something like Lawrence of Arabia, people usually have an aversion. Americans do to movies that are 3 hours long, that are personal kind of stories. They're used to them being 2 hours or less. And usually when they are longer, it's because improvisation had a lot to do with rehearsal and even in production as a way of working, especially when it's a one-on-one scene or when you involve small children in scenes, etc. So did you use improv as part of your technique? And is this the final cut, the release cut?
C'est la longueur qui s'est imposée à moi durant tout le processus de création du film. C'est difficile de parler de rythme et de respiration intérieure, mais c'est comme ça que je respire les scènes. Et ça fait plusieurs années que je me pose la question sur la durée de mes films. Et je me suis efforcé sur mes films précédents, de réduire les scènes, de fabriquer davantage pour que ça ressemble à quelque chose de plus classique. Et ça n'est pas péjoratif, c'est pour m'approcher davantage de ce qui est dans les normes. Mais plus j'avance et plus je me sens mal à l'aise dans ces normes. Et ce sont celles qui s'imposent à moi par mon propre rythme, ma propre respiration. Et je crois que ça n'est pas un acquis qu'un film doit faire telle ou telle durée, de la même façon qu'un roman n'a pas à faire un nombre de pages précis. Et je voudrais, enfin j'ai essayé en tout cas pour ce film, où ça s'est fait malgré moi, cette durée s'est imposée, mais je crois que j'ai encore envie d'explorer l'idée de rythme et de rythme intérieur que je ressens. Et que finalement, c'est peut-être celui-là qui fait qu'on ne sente pas le temps réel, si on a son propre rythme. Maintenant, sur l'improvisation, il y a bien sûr une forme d'improvisation, parce que je laisse une grande liberté à l'acteur de sortir du texte ou d'aller vers d'autres chemins, mais ce n'est pas ce qui fait le rythme du film. Et l'autre question, la dernière, c'était est-ce que c'est la version, ça c'est la version c'est la version courte du film. Il y en aura une un peu plus tard, pas beaucoup plus longue, hein, même pas 1 heure. Voilà.
The length of the film came out of my sensing and feeling the rhythm that went with it and the inner breathing that I felt vis-a-vis the film. You know, I've tried in preceding former films to format my scenes, to cut them, to make them fit into something that was more of a classic model, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I was just trying to fit it into what was somewhat more standard, but I find that the more I go forward in filmmaking, the more I want to allow a film to breathe its natural rhythm. And therefore, I think that probably in coming years, they may not be shorter, they'll be longer. And in fact, in terms of the final cut, this cut is shorter than what the final cut will be, which will probably be about 40 minutes longer than this one. In terms of improvisation, yes, you know, I wouldn't call it exactly that, but I like to give my actors a great deal of freedom so that sometimes they can carve out a path which may be one of discovery. So that's it.
Well, then I'd like to turn that question to Adèle to ask about the path of carving out the role in the film, what it was like for her.
Okay, I'm gonna try in English. We have a really big part of improvisation, but Abdel was always there, and I think unconsciously he make his part of precision. I mean, he feed us of a lot of things, taking his time to like give us energy and speak with us like the time we need to about everything, in fact. And we really built this patient, the three of us. And yeah, we have the freedom like of the space. For example, if we make a scene here, I can go out and call my mother. He will follow me, and the time, and also the freedom of the time. I mean, he can let roll the camera during 1 or 2 hours. He really wants you to take some pleasure. So sometimes it's exhausting, but it's like the most enriching. Maybe I inventing some words. Yeah, cool. And yeah, so there is a part of improvisation, but we always have like a kind of base, a text or a situation, or even when it was for the body language, we have like the situation in our mind, and after we just have to let it go.
Tu exagères, Adèle. Hein.
You're
2 heures.
exaggerating, Adele.
Une heure ou deux, tu as dit. Je laisse tourner la caméra 1 heure ou 2.
Non,
Tu as
mais
dit.
40 minutes.
40 minutes. c'est
You're
pas pareil.
exaggerating. I don't let the camera run for 2 hours. And you said 40 minutes.
Je te surveille. Hein.
I'm watching you.
T'as appris l'anglais.
You learned English.
Okay. Hello. Given that the
J'ai une
film,
oreillette.
What? Given that the film was considered eligible for the Queer Palm at Cannes, I wonder how you feel about sort of queer cinema as a label, and then in that context, I wonder if there are films, and in particular films by lesbian filmmakers, that you consider either forebears or antecedents for this film.
Comment il s'appelle ce film avec Charlton Heston
What's the name of that film with Charlton Heston?
où, mais c'est vrai. où il.
Ben-Hur?
Non, un vieux film avec Charlton Heston sur. Ça se passe dans. Il y a des gladiateurs. Non, avec des gladiateurs.
Ben-Hur.
Hein?
Ben-Hur.
Ben-Hur. Oui, j'ai vu Ben-Hur.
I saw Ben-Hur.
Mais je vais vous raconter. Je vais vous raconter une anecdote très drôle sur Ben-Hur.
I'm
qui
going
est-
to tell you an anecdote about Ben-Hur.
Comme Charlton Heston ne voulait surtout pas accepter certains principes de la direction du réalisateur,
Since Charlton Heston didn't really want to accept certain directions from the filmmaker,
c'est vraiment une très belle anecdote.
it's really a nice
Et
anecdote.
il y a cet acteur, il y a cet acteur qui joue en face de lui, et le réalisateur, je ne me souviens
He's
plus de son nom.
Has an actor playing opposite him.
Comment s'appelle le
and
réalisateur de Ben-Hur? William Wyler. Ouais. Et il demande à l'acteur qui joue son ami d'enfance, il lui dit je ne peux pas le dire à Charlton Heston, mais toi, quand tu le regardes dans les yeux, tu dois lui rappeler que vous avez eu dans votre adolescence une relation homosexuelle.
Okay, so he said to the actor who was playing Charlton Heston's childhood friend, okay, I can't tell him, but when you look into his eyes, I want you to look at him remembering that the two of you had a homosexual affair when you were adolescents.
Et quand tu le regardes, tu dois lui faire sentir ça.
And you have to make him feel that when you look at him.
Il ne pouvait pas bien sûr le dire à Charlton Heston,
But he could, of course, not tell Charlton Heston.
mais Charlton Heston était très gêné par le regard de son partenaire.
But Charlton Heston was very uncomfortable, very embarrassed by his partner's.
Et on
Wow.
avait vraiment l'impression que, à ce moment-là, il s'était passé quelque chose dans leur adolescence.
And there was really the impression at that point that something had gone on during their adolescence.
Voilà un exemple de film que j'ai vu pour répondre à votre question.
That's an example of a movie that I saw in answer to your question.
Two questions. Any plans for a sequel? And how long did it take to shoot just the sex scenes?
En faisant le film, j'avais le sentiment de raconter une histoire romanesque, une initiation d'une jeune fille qui va traverser la vie. Et j'ai imaginé que le film, comme sous forme de roman, de chapitres qui reviendrait tous les 3, 4 ans, 10 ans, je ne sais pas encore. Et donc j'ai imaginé ce personnage dans le futur et même jusqu'à un âge avancé. Donc j'espère effectivement qu'il sera une sorte de personnage que je suivrai si je suis en vie encore très longtemps. C'est vraiment un personnage qui m'habite. J'aime ce personnage, cette femme forte, courageuse, libre, surtout libre et généreuse et ça me donne très envie justement pour des questions aussi de durée, de ne pas faire chaque fois des films de 20 heures, retrouver plutôt ce personnage. Donc j'imagine plusieurs histoires et plusieurs aventures qu'elle vivrait mais après, tout ça est de l'ordre un peu de l'imaginaire, de l'utopie. Mais pourquoi pas?
I like this character very much, and when I thought about her and imagined her and worked on her, I thought of her far into the future, in fact, in terms of an advanced age and going through various stages and various experiences in her life. So I very much would like to keep creating this character or advancing with this character. I don't see, you can't make a 20-hour movie, so yes, I would have liked to come back to it and continue. Of course, this is, that's in an ideal world. I don't know exactly what will happen.
Adele, would you like to go back and revisit the character in other films?
If we found, in fact, I love also the fact that people are appropriate. Everyone asks me like, for you, what is the end? And I don't really know. And I love to the fact that everyone can, that she can still exist in people's mind and spirit. But if we find the really right, comment on dit la suite?
Next stage.
Of her life, for sure.
Je n'ai pas dit que je ne changerais pas d'actrice.
I didn't say I wouldn't change actresses.
A number of your other films, I'm thinking specifically of Black Venus, have a very overt political content, but this film positions politics in a slightly different way. Specifically, there's a way in which class plays a sort of destructive role in the outcome of the relationship, and there's also seems to be a certain disillusionment or irony that the film produces about certain left-wing aspects of French culture. Could you just talk about what, if any, political significance the film has for you?
Oui, c'était une des thématiques que j'ai essayé de développer dans le film, la difficulté de communiquer et de créer véritablement une union quand on est issu de classes différentes, voire même opposées. Et c'était quelque chose que j'avais déjà développé dans mes précédents films, la difficulté d'accéder à un autre niveau social. Et là, c'est comment est-ce qu'il y avait une possibilité de rapprocher ces deux personnages et même ces deux actrices qui sont issues de classes sociales, l'une appartenant à l'élite intellectuelle, culturelle, financière, et l'autre venant d'un milieu plus prolétaire. C'était une question que je me posais encore et que je pose encore. Et dans ce couple qui ne fonctionne plus, c'est la difficulté vient après la passion amoureuse et qui ne peut durer, la passion charnelle qui ne peut durer dans n'importe quel couple. Il y a d'autres éléments qui doivent entrer en jeu et qui perturbent ou qui solidifient. Ici, la différence sociale perturbe la possible union et finalement sépare les deux personnages.
Yes, that's a subject that I've treated in my previous films and that does interest, and that was one of the themes interests me that I wanted to have in this film, how being in different social classes, it's the difficulties or the impossibility of having a relationship function and the difficulties of acceding to a higher level of social class, and where, you know, what happens when after the initial carnal passion in a relationship, if you don't have other things to connect with, then inevitably the relationship can't function and it breaks down. So that is, and that's a question that really that I think about a lot, and that I'm still processing.
Hi. So Adele, this is a question for you. I thought you were really great. Was there any point in the shoot that you wanted to tell the director, no, this is just too far for me to go? And if there was no point, what made you decide to just give him everything?
First of all, I think I won, during the cast, I won this movie because I already love his cinema, the trends in his movie, the long scene of food, the fact that he gives justice to women, and comment on dit la pudeur? Non, c'est pas pareil, si? And the modesty of men. So, and in France we know that he gives justice to like his actresses too. So I love when someone asks me to give everything, and when I know that it's in the same sense, when it's like a kind of legitimate. And in the story, when you get in, and I was like aware from the beginning that we have to get involved, and it's a chance when someone asks you like to participate to like the casting road to the scene, to the dialogue and everything. So when you have to abandon yourself, I think it's human to ask you some question, like personal question, but I never have one regret on it, never.
This is a question for directors. Throughout the film, there's lots of actually close-up, and one of the scenes that kind of stood out for me was that when Adele first time meets with actually Emma, there's a lot of sexual attention is oozing throughout the vision, and I was just curious, in a sense that I find it more actually sexier than actual sex scene. So I was curious that how he mapped out that actually scene with when Adele first time meets with Emma.
J'espérais que créer une émotion pendant la scène. Au départ, j'ai pensé qu'il fallait mettre de la musique, et en imaginant mettre de la musique, j'avais l'impression de faire quelque chose finalement qui ne me correspondait pas. Et un jour, par hasard, j'ai rencontré un musicien qui jouait d'un instrument qui avait un son très mélancolique. Et en le mettant dans la scène, j'ai pensé que ça pourrait créer cette émotion forte pendant la rencontre. Donc je crois que la musique, à ce moment-là, participe de l'émotion dans la rencontre.
Okay, well, at first, I had imagined that for that scene I would have music, but the music that I was working with just didn't fit. It didn't work for me. I wanted to really bring out the emotion with that during that scene. And then, by chance, I met a musician who produced a musical sound that was a very melancholic sound, and it felt right to me. And therefore, you know, for that first meeting between them, I used that because I thought that it strengthened the emotion in the scene.
We know Lea's work in the United States, and I'm assuming that you knew the work of both of the actresses in France, but did you go through a long casting process, or were these two actresses your first choice?
Pour Léa, je n'ai pas rencontré beaucoup d'actrices. J'ai trouvé assez vite que sa personnalité correspondait et son vécu correspondait au personnage. J'ai beaucoup plus cherché le personnage de Adèle et j'ai rencontré beaucoup de filles, actrices ou pas actrices, pour chercher le personnage. Et quand j'ai rencontré Adèle, ça a été très vite une évidence que j'ai tout de suite pensé qu'elle serait le personnage.
For Lea, I didn't see very many actresses. I found very quickly that her personality and also her life experience corresponded to the character. As far as Adele, I saw a lot of girls, some that were professional actresses and others that weren't. But as soon as I did meet Adele, I knew very quickly that she was the right one.
Thank you, everybody. Merci.